In this week's episode of Sailor Moon Crystal, the Sailor Senshi go to a grand ball, and Sailor Moon has a rendezvous with Tuxedo Mask. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. My 4X razor has 4 high-quality stainless steel blades, and you can have this bad motherfucker shipped right to your door. Cut ties with traditional razor blades, and sign up for Dollar Shave Club. Remember guys, you can check out a link for that in the description box below if you feel like being a lazy asshole. It's dollarshaveclub.com/SKG. Shave time. Shave money. Razor pun. This episode made it painfully clear that I am not the key demographic for this show, and frankly, I just didn't like this episode that much. And a lot of that had to do with the first half. Nothing happened at all. Story-wise, jack shit went down in the first half of this week's episode. It was just Luna spouting exposition, reminding us who the Sailor Senshi are and what their plan is going to be, which is to find the legendary Silver Crystal and to protect their princess. And you know what? We don't need to be reminded of this. It's the 4th episode of the series. We don't need a recap, and we especially don't need it on a series that was animated well over 20 years ago, which has already been based on a manga series, which has been done for equally long. It's unnecessary. Let's move ahead with the story. That alone brought this episode down for me. The second half was a little better. They finally started to insert something of a story this week, where we actually go back to Queen Beryl and we get to learn a little bit more about her group of 4 kings. These guys are basically like the homoerotic version of the 4 heavenly kings from Toriko. No, they're the same. There's going to be this princess in town who's going to be showing off this legendary treasure to a select few people at this big ball, and these guys are going to take advantage of this because they feel that this treasure might be the legendary Silver Crystal. Spoiler alert, it's not. But we get a really weird scene where we get to see all of the Sailor Senshi sneaking into this grand ballroom, and you just get an excuse to see Sailor Moon dancing with Tuxedo Mask. And what I think is really funny about this is they're going by the Superman Clark Kent rules of secret identities, where you barely have to wear anything, like a tiny little mask, and they won't even know who you are. You put on some glasses, you're not Superman anymore, you're Clark Kent. And there are a lot of scenes this week where, like, her mom is looking at the newspaper, and she's like, huh, Sailor Moon is so awesome, I wish Usagi could be that way, even though they look absolutely the same. And then you have her dad, who was at the ball and saw her again from behind, he's like, huh, that looks a lot like my daughter Usagi. They're the same person, people! Put the pieces together! This is the type of shit I shouldn't be complaining about. But honestly, at least there's a small amount of action, but you have to go through all of the Sailor Senshi transformations again. And don't get me wrong, they're well animated, and it's just like the classic series where they have to keep showing it. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually did like seeing Sailor Mars' transformation again, because frankly it's the coolest one. But they're going up against this other guy, I believe his name is Nephrite. They all have like different names. There's Jadeite, there's Nephrite, I think the other one's a Zoisite, and Kunzite. Yeah, that's the 4 heavenly kings of this series. And they're trying to find the legendary Silver Crystal, and this guy's creating like this big Wizard of Oz like demon that they just throw shit at. But then Sailor Moon uses her weird tiara thing to like blast this beam of death into it, and it takes it out. But then they all just come around to introduce themselves, because that's what villains like to do. They like to monologue. And then they just run away. That's it. They don't decide to fight them at all, which is a total disappointment. And things get creepy at the end when Tuxedo Mask decides to kiss a sleeping Sailor Moon. Luna walks in on this, and he lets her know that he might be a hero, he might be a villain. He's just looking for the legendary Silver Crystal. And then he disappears in a cheesy Dracula cape turn and jumps off the side of the building. And that's pretty much the end of this week's episode. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Sailor Moon Crystal? I myself personally did not like it at all, but that's just because not really too much happened to this week. It, you know, sort of fell into the same formula of there's going to be a bad guy, they set up some crazy event, they draw in the Sailor Senshi, they have a small battle, they monologue a little bit, and then they leave. That's pretty much what they're doing right now. But I would have at least liked to have seen a brand new member of the Sailor Senshi that they could build upon a little bit. Otherwise, the story this week was real simple, especially like with the whole like princess thing. They didn't even follow up on it too much. I did think it was kind of funny that the princess has the same Coke bottle glasses as their student from their class who's known as Umino, who's basically just a stereotypical nerd. Because all nerds wear glasses, right? The whole relationship with Usagi and Chiba, who is Tuxedo Mask, is kind of strange, because he's clearly kind of older, and she's definitely younger, and it's just kind of weird. It's just a weird territory you don't want to get into or even talk about. But they're definitely hinting, and if you watch the old series, spoiler alert, I believe Sailor Moon is actually the princess that they're looking for. She just doesn't realize it yet. I don't know, it has to do with like reincarnation or something like that. Or it's like she's the descendant of a princess, or I don't know. It's kind of confusing. I'm not really sure how it works. And I even thought for a second when she was using her tiara, because the little gem in the middle actually looked silver at one point. And I'm like, could she actually already have the silver crystal and she was using that to defeat the weird Wizard of Oz demon thing? I don't really know. Otherwise, it was just an okay episode. It was definitely not for me. It's not the type of stuff that I really care for. And, you know, frankly, I just want to see badass girls fight demons and stuff. And that really didn't happen that much this week. So, not for me. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 this week. Not the best episode of the series. And I'm hoping things can pick up a little bit more after this one, because this one did not impress me all that much. But if you are following the series and you want to get a few laughs and you want to see some classic characters doing what they do best, then check out this week's episode of Sailor Moon Crystal, especially if you're an old school Sailor Moon fan. It'll give you that, like, old Toonami feeling. So 6 out of 10 for me. Decent stuff, but not great. Thank you guys for watching my review today. Before you leave, make sure to hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. Really helps out our videos. And please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Sailor Moon Crystal. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not already. And you guys can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links for all that stuff in the description box below.
Do you like Amazon.com? I know I do. Corey and I now have an Amazon link in our video description box below. And if you go to it and buy anything through Amazon.com, it will support our channel. So bookmark that link, make it happen, and support our channel without having to do a damn thing.
Another great way you guys can help support our channel is by donating directly through our PayPal link in the description box below. We recommend $2 a month, although this is completely optional. But the best way to go about this is by sneaking into your mom's room and taking $2. This way, she won't even notice. And we won't have to shake you up for all of your lunch money. So guys, that concludes this review today. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.